Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Game Week 14 preview podcast. I'm Chris, and Kieran is here too. Keek, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good too. I'm good. We're in the midst of Game Week mania at the moment. We got 3 in about the next 10 days, haven't we? So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to that a lot. But let's do a quick recap. Should we go into Game Week 14 and then just talk about some hard topics ahead of Game Week 14?
Yeah, so should I go over mine
Yeah,
first?
why not? Why not?
Yeah, okay. So 46 points. It was a red arrow in the end. Yeah, a little bit unlucky, I suppose. Cash, Taylor not doing much, Bowen not starting. I kept him just in case. And then Diaby not getting anything, Son blanking too, and then Alvarez continuing to blank at the moment. So luckily got the captain right with Haaland, but Salah was only like 2 points behind, so it wouldn't much difference. But the Lascelles goal, thank God for that. And obviously a week where they conceded as well, and then Gabriel starting after the international break was good and getting the clean sheet. So yeah, not too bad, I suppose. Benching Simicast worked out, I guess. So yeah, all good, I suppose.
Yeah, it was,
despite the red arrow, it's fine.
Was it a red arrow from far to far? Sorry.
Yeah, it was like I was at 180k, I think, to down to 248. I can't exactly remember what it was, but it's minimal-ish. So actually, no, it was 216k. I just checked, and then down to 248k.
Okay, so minimal. That's like a few points in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I had a rip-roaring game week because of Anthony Gordon and Saka, actually, really. So I'm but off the back of 2 good weeks, I've gone from 1.4 million to like about 505k in that time. So I'm chuffed with that.
Nice.
Yeah, Gordon with that nice goal and assist. Saka, I mean, he's not shooting at the moment, but he's getting these single assists and some bonus points. So he came through. Who else returned for me? Watkins, Saliba. It was quite a decent week, really, and like I said, a decent green arrow for me. And I think I'm looking all right for this week too. I've got 2 free transfers in the pocket. Do you have 2 free transfers this week as well?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So plenty to discuss as we head into, like I say, 3 game weeks in quick succession. So let's jump into it. I wanted to start talking about Manchester United because they're like the form team in the league at the moment. None of their players are really part of like the active template. So I wanted to just have a pick up with you and just find out, where we sit on them at the moment. Have they got their mojo back a little bit? And they've got some cheap assets that maybe going under the radar a little bit. So 5 wins and 1 loss in the last 6 games. That's the best in the league. That loss was against Man City at home. The next 5 a little bit mixed for them. So they've got Newcastle away this Saturday night, which I think is going to be a tough game. They've got Chelsea and Bournemouth back to back at home in this quick turnaround week, which I think are quite decent home games for them, obviously. And they've got a really tricky game against Liverpool away, West Ham away. So I think mixed next 5, 3 winnable ones in there. West Ham, Chelsea and Bournemouth are probably I'm putting down as the winnable ones. But in the last 6 game weeks, 3 Man United defenders feature in the top 10 point scoring of all defenders, which I wouldn't have said if you'd asked me.
A few people on Twitter had Maguire taking along. Nice of them.
Yeah, I think he and Lindelof. I just think there seems like decent value in a season where definitely I feel like I've said to you a lot. My defenders have been not returning or delivering like this week, and it's only really Arsenal defenders who we've been able to rely on recently for not much money. Manchester United defenders have been performing well, and they did last season. So maybe just it's not a surprise that they getting back to like a little bit of that. But I'll talk about each of them. Dalot, he's the most second highest expensive. Sorry, I should say after Shaw because he's come back in. So. He had 1 assist in the last 6 game weeks. 10 key passes is the 3rd highest total after Trippier and Dean. So he's like sort of upped his game on an attacking front. 7 bonus is the 2nd highest total. But he doesn't actually need the attacking returns to get bonus because he's doing well enough on a baseline bonus point of view to pick up bonus in the games that are just getting clean sheets, and that's probably just down to the number of key passes. United aren't being that ruthless at the moment, so he's seeing some bonus points there. And Lindelof and Maguire, just talk about them a little bit as well. So obviously not as sexy. It's definitely no upside there. But they're so inexpensive compared to most centre-backs we've got in the league at the moment. And when Cash has been a big problem recently and his price has gone up. And and he's well owned and well part of the template. And I know I mentioned it last week on the show, but Trippier is obviously expensive, and if you're looking to move funds around, maybe the fixtures aren't like the best at United for this point, but for the value, for the value and what they're giving at the moment, they seem like an investable defence that are definitely being overlooked. I mean, Shaw came back as well against Everton. We knew last season he was a bonus points magnet. He was involved in set pieces at the weekend, and he had the best joint baseline bonus of all defenders, bar Dallo, who obviously got the return this given weekend, which sort of ties in with how he played last season. So, yeah, what do you think about United? I mean, I don't think they're back, but they've definitely got some good, cheap FPL assets in defence.
Yeah, I think cash to Shaw sounds kind of interesting. And then Delo, the worry would be like Wan-Bissaka's playing tonight. So I guess in the sort of tougher games, Wan-Bissaka might play just to be a bit more sure. And obviously there is tough games with Newcastle, Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham as well, I guess, in the next 5. So is Delo definitely nailed on for the Premier League? Not sure.
I had a look at his minutes. So he's played 19 every game this season apart from the first 2 game weeks. So that's like 12 in a row now that he's playing. So I'm pretty sure he's like first choice in the league. But yeah, I agree. Yeah. I kind of feel like Wan-Bissaka is a better defender. So,
yeah, and I think Maguire seemingly has just won his place now. Lindelof as well, I suppose. Like I guess I think Varane is still being benched. I think he's supposedly sort of fallen out with Ten Hag or something like that. So I think Martinez is probably still a while off. Maybe they'll buy in January, but do they really need more centre backs? Probably not.
No.
So yeah, I'd say Maguire at 4.3 seems pretty good. He's been a threat for set pieces too, obviously in the past, and he's looked like he's been close to a few recently. So. Yeah, I don't mind Maguire from someone like Cash. It's just a nailed-on asset and obviously a good team. And, Nana, to talk about him, and obviously lots of people had him at the start of the season. You and me had Shaw and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they are going to keep clean sheets, which we are finding now. They're top of clean sheets in the league. So, a joint 5. I don't see any issues there, really. Like, the fixtures aren't great, but... they'll keep a few clean sheets along the way anyway.
And what I was thinking about, definitely about Christmas and the busier period, is like, I think, Dallo and Shaw are probably more prone to rotation, but someone like Lindelof and Maguire, if you pick and like stick with one, they could be like a 4th defender because they're so cheap. I mean, the fact that Maguire's like 0.3 more expensive than how much I probably bought Charlie Taylor for, and I'd rather have him just like being able to sub in like one every game week in 3 or something when United have got a good home fixture. I just think like for people that might have 2 transfers or a defensive issue to solve, United seem good at the minute.
That Everton game as well, like they were a bit lucky that I think Everton's XG was something around like 2.3 or something. So you're not going to be keeping clean sheets if you got that sort of XG very often. So I guess they were a bit lucky there, but luck is a factor in FPL, obviously, and in football. So, hopefully it just keeps going like that.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. I feel like the fixtures are mixed, but it's worth talking about. And I thought I'd just mention their attack, obviously, just while we're talking about United, because you'd kind of think
Bruno and is probably annoyed.
Yeah, well, definitely. Imagine handing the pen to Rashford. I mean, I don't know what their ownership's like nowadays at the moment, because I feel like they've just given up. But United as attack is just not investable at the moment. Like Scott McTominay has got more points than all of the mids and forwards in the United team in the last 6. He's got 32. It actually ranks him quite highly. I'm talking about budget mids a bit later, but Scott McTominay makes an appearance in the top 10.
He got the assist for the Garnacho goal. Is that right?
He did. Yeah. So he's been like ticking along and like doing actually quite well. Like 32 points. Bruno's got 30. Rashford's 17 in the last sort of 6. So
that's shocking for Bruno Rashford.
It is bad. Really poor. I mean, Bruno Rashford definitely too expensive at the moment when others are doing far better for less, and arguably the fixtures are worse now. So I don't think that an attack is that it's now at the time to invest in United's attack. But if you're looking for, we've been looking for good defensive options this season. I would say, like apart from Arsenal and Newcastle players, and for little investment, Manchester United quietly doing quite well.
Unless they get spanked tonight at Galatasaray.
I think they're going to lose tonight. But
Well, I think they'll be out of the Champions League if they lose.
Yeah.
So
That would probably be quite good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so that's pretty much just wanted to get your thoughts really. I mean, I could see myself with one of the transfers I've got in hand, maybe getting rid of someone like Cash after this game week, maybe even Taylor, and there isn't that many good defensive picks at the minute, so yeah, I might take a punt on getting Shaw and maybe Dallow. I just quite like that Chelsea and the Bournemouth back-to-back home fixtures. I think they could be good ones. So.
Yep, Cash for me looking like he's obviously. I guess we'll go on to Villa assets. So
yeah, why not? Yeah,
just with Cash, 5.1 million, 29.9% owned at the moment. He's on 4 yellow cards now, 1 yellow card away from obviously a 1-game ban, which resets in game week 19. So since we all sort of bought him, he's been pretty terrible from game week 7 to 13. He's got 1 clean sheet with 6 points, a 2, a 5, a 0, a 2, and a 0. So two returns, 2 subs, 60-minute subs, or being taken off. So he's had an average XG of 0.09 over 7 weeks, an average XA of 0.13 over 7 weeks as well, which is terrible as well. So and this was when he was before that he was averaging nearly a 1 XG or something like that, and a 0.5 XA. So he's just dropped off massively. Huge, as we sort of mentioned before in the show. He played obviously right wing out of position this weekend versus Spurs, but still only mustered a 0.09 XG and then a 0.00 XA. So subs at 45 minutes, obviously a needlessly bad challenge for a yellow card as well, which obviously Bentancur is out again for 8 odd weeks or something as well. So shame for him. But Bailey obviously came on, looked pretty good in his replacement. Bailey has looked good whenever he has been on recently, so it feels like it's only been a matter of time for Bailey to kind of get a start. So we've seen Konsa can play right back in this game. He's played there perfectly fine, no problem there. So Cash is no longer really providing much goal threat, assist potential, possibly no longer nailed on, close to a suspension, and he's obviously got tough fixtures for clean sheets wise. So their fixtures are actually obviously Bournemouth away this weekend, which sounds good on paper, but Bournemouth have been quite good lately. And then Man City at home, Arsenal at home. So obviously those two, rough clean sheets, obviously. Brentford away, Sheffield United at home, Man United away, Burnley at home up until Christmas, New Year. So fixtures clean sheet wise don't look great, and we just don't know if he's going to continue playing right now. So Bournemouth away is not an easy fixture either. Obviously, game week 8 to 13, Bournemouth XG of 8.46 with 9 goals. So they've been doing all right there. 2 wins on the bounce at home for them as well, and 3 wins in the last 4, bar the spanking by City, which was 6-1 or something. So Cash, I don't really know. I feel like I'm probably going to have to keep him this week because I think I've got other fires. I'll probably play him, but I might not. I might even bench him for Taylor.
Really? Okay.
Well, if like I said, this XG and XA, he's not really offering anything. Is he even going to start? I don't know. But maybe this is the week where,
we thought it'd be last week, didn't we? We thought against Spurs he was going to have a good week and get given more license than he.
Well, he played out of position and he should have been, and he still didn't really do anything. So I don't know. It's pretty awkward with him at the moment, and people are going to start. He's already dropped once, I think. So people are going to start mass selling. Hopefully, just he is just the default right back, and when he has to play there, he will just play there, and that Diego Carlos will drop out from centre back and Konsa will go back in. Hopefully, that's the case. But
do you think he's a must get rid of? Who are you thinking good replacements for him if you had that transfer? I know you say it's not an essential this week.
Well, if you've got the money, someone like Saliba, if you don't have Arsenal defence, seems obvious. And then possibly the Maguire shout, the Shaw shout. That Shaw's not going to be well owned at the moment.
No.
So he could be a good differential. There isn't that many great options, honestly. It's Arsenal defence / maybe United, and then maybe Wolves. I think Wolves fixtures are okay. So there isn't many options, I suppose, but he's not going to be one that you're going to be wanting to start in those next few either. So
I think if you
apart from this next one,
I think apart from this Bournemouth game, if you look at the fixtures, the next like decent home, or the next good chance of a fixture is Sheffield United at home, so that's in like 4 fixtures time, and then Burnley at home after that. But I think bar that, that's maybe like 3 game weeks, and maybe the next, I'm just having a quick look, about in the next 10 where you'd hope for a clean sheet, but they've been really poor in that. Like especially at home, it feels like they're just conceding 1 goal every so often and just ruining that clean sheet. So I wouldn't be surprised if that continues.
Yeah, so I've got down here further, like they've actually won all of their games at home this season, and they've scored 23 goals and only conceded 4 at home. So that's obviously a good ratio.
Yeah.
But it's Man City and Arsenal at home, those 2 games. So yeah, I mean they could certainly score in these games, but is Cash going to be involved in scoring? Probably not, right? So yeah. So Diaby, I'll move on to Diaby now. So
sure.
Yeah, he's in my team. He possibly in other people's teams that are watching. 15.2% owns at 6.8 million. He's starting to be an issue. Subbed off early in the last 2 games, offered pretty much next to nothing when he was on the pitch the last game. And his replacement, obviously Bailey, as I mentioned, has done well. It's often looked that Bailey could start, and it hasn't happened. But like I said, it feels like only a matter of time. But obviously, there has been a bit of a pattern that's occurred with him this season. So he'll return 1 week, blank the next, and then he'll return, and then he'll blank, and it's so alternating. But he's gone with 7, 3, 12, 2, 5, 3, 8, 2, 2. So there's one randomness there. But then he went back to 13, 2, 6, and then 1. So he's so by this, other than that one random occurrence, he should go back to doing all right.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that Bailey's looked good when he's come on. Like Diaby hasn't been doing a lot. Like that 6 was only like a assist that possibly wasn't even an assist. He's got lucky there, and he's just like from the eye test, he's just not passing it either. So I'm not sure of his minutes anymore. I think that maybe like Bailey could just start on the right wing, and he'll continue his place of just like being kind of behind Watkins as like a second striker.
Yeah,
maybe that could happen. I mean, that's the hope, but I mean, I'd rather not have to sell him because obviously this is a good fixture, especially on paper. But he is going to be an issue going forward, I think. So yeah,
I think it's difficult to, like you say, justify him a little bit when he's, I think he's quite expensive at 6.8. When we'll talk about budget mids in a bit, but when budget mids are like being quite a big deal so far this season, and there's lots of good value players in there. So, and especially when, like you say, the fixtures aren't the best, and at that price point, there's other teams and other players that have got better ones. It's just like you say, it's a difficult one to get rid of because he can do well, and he's got a good fixture this game week. Do you think I don't know, for you, was it just because this, and maybe for other DRB owners, it was this week, when they were going for a result against the top side, he gets subbed early. It's like, why is he not sort of considered first choice to get that win?
Yeah, pretty much. And then obviously there is midweek games. So if he starts that in a rotated team, then that the writing's on the wall. Then that he is sort of being overlooked a bit by Emery. But obviously he is a good player. So I think they didn't buy him to be second.
No, absolutely, exactly.
Squad, so, but yeah, just for this fixture, obviously is why I'm wavering selling. Is obviously the Bournemouth game. Their XGC lately has been 8.8 with 13 conceded, so they've been conceded bucket loads. But their home goals conceded has been 2 versus Wolves recently, 1 versus Burnley, and 0 versus Newcastle. So they've been a bit tighter at home. Yes. So from Watkins' position as well, Watkins will go on to him. 15 goal contributions in the Premier League, 7 goals, 8 assists. Other than Haaland, the most consistent striker in the game at the moment. I would say he's probably a season keeper. I would guess. But obviously there is other strikers with other good games fixtures, in the meantime while he's got this City and Arsenal at home over the next 3. So what do you think of keeping him all season? Are you there for the long run?
I'm there for it. Yeah, I think that Villa are like a top side now. They're like third in the league now. And
I think they're fourth.
fourth,
Yeah.
oh, they're playing. You mentioned their home record being that good, and even though City and Arsenal turning up, I kind of back them to get some goals in those games, considering how good they've been, and they're wanting to prove themselves as like a serious challenger to Champions League spots. Watkins is integral to that. They haven't really got like a suitable backup who's going to finish those chances.
No.
I think more likely he gets subbed at like 80 and 85 minutes rather than benched and on for 20. So no, I like Watkins a lot this season, and we're nearly a third of the way through the season now, and there's nothing really that said he doesn't deserve to be dropped from the team, basically. So
yeah, I mean he's only the only top team he's blanked against so far was Liverpool in game week 4.
It was away, wasn't it?
But he got 5 against Newcastle away, which was assists, and then 9, which was 1 goal scored against Chelsea, and then 5 this week against Tottenham. Those are I suppose the top teams. I guess against Brighton, who are probably a top tier. He got 23 points. That's where he got his massive haul. So I think he's probably going to suit those sort of games where they're a bit open, especially against City, who Diaz was really terrible last night, and there could be points for him in those 2 games. Arsenal maybe not so much, but for City, I think there could be points.
And every time you watch Watkins as well, like he could have hauled. It's always like he's getting like 5 or 6 points, but then you see like the number of big chances he's missed, or I think at most games he seems like just, I don't know, a yard away from, a bit like a Darwin, but maybe not to the same extent.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
He's obviously not getting probably as many chances as Darwin. I'd have to look into the numbers, but it feels like he misses a big chance every game, and so every so often that's gonna come in. But I've got just on the Villa front, they've had obviously these nice run of fixtures, which is why I've doubled up, you tripled up, but maybe now, especially with like Cash and Diaby's side of things, maybe not being first choice when chasing a win, that's like a bit more of a worry. But Watkins, I don't see a worry there really.
Yeah, they're obviously a good team still. Watkins, I think, can stay, and then it's just those fringy players that we've tripled up, and doubled up for those good fixtures. When the good fixtures dry up, it's time to just move on. There's obviously the Mbuemo looking at me straight in the face this week. There's just someone I should definitely be getting on to. Another penalty takers. I don't really have that many penalty takers in my team, so that's something I need to acknowledge and change.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're talking about transfers for Diaby. Shall I want to talk about budget mids, because I was looking at this earlier and I think it's quite exciting. So reason I wanted to look at it is because I'm still, like a crazy lunatic, got Maddison just because I haven't needed to. And, maybe Maddison Maddison on the bench has helped me go up nearly a million places in the last 2 game weeks, and maybe I should keep him on the bench for another game week. But anyway, it's time to get rid of Maddison this week. And Mbuemo is going to come in. What do you think of that?
I think he said. I think he said it's
Mbuemo?
Brian Burmo.
Oh, Brian Burmo.
Like the B is or the M is silent.
Burmo. Anyway, he's coming in for me probably. And, you and I, and probably some amount of FPL managers as well, 24% are obviously going to be worried about Bowen and whether he's going to be fit or not. So, I kind of wanted to see, and, Son's gotten down in price as well. So there's lots of movement, it seems like, with budget mids doing well. So what I did is I had a look at stats over the last 6 weeks for midfielders that were 6 million and under, because that seems where most of the value is at the moment. So quite a lot of numbers, so I'll try and sort of make it as listener friendly as I can do. So the top 5 point scorers for under 6 million in the last 6 weeks. So Palmer comes out on top with 40, Douglas Luiz in at 35, He Chan in at 35, Willian up at 34, McTominay and Gordon down at 32. So all of those I've just listed feature in the top 10 point scoring mids over the last 5 games. So they're nestled right in there. So Salah, I mean, he's out in front. He's like he's the white swan. He's like 62. He's miles ahead. But Mbuemo, 38. Son, 33, is only 1 more than McTominay and Gordon, 1 less than Willian, 2 less than Chan. Bowen, 27. Saka, 26. So somehow, so obviously then they wouldn't even make that top 5 list.
Yeah.
Essentially, those 5 players are performing at the same rate as, I'd argue Bowen, better than Bowen and Saka, and then similar to Son. So why are we not considering more was like my main question, because we're quite a long way into the season now. 6 game weeks is quite a large sample size, and most of these players are are still pretty heavy differential. So I wanted to see if like their underlying numbers backed it up, right? So just quickly, so on expected points to actual points is probably going to give a gauge of how reliable these returns are. So Palmer pretty much bang on, so he's got 40 points, expected points of 39, fair enough. Douglas Luiz, 35 points from expected points of 25, so a fair amount of overperformance there, so maybe not consistent. He-Chan, 35 points from an expected points of 30, I'd say that's quite consistent, reliable. Willian, 34 from an expected points of 32. So he is surprisingly really good as well. McTominay, who I mentioned a minute ago, 32, expected points of 19. Gordon, 32, and expected points of 21. So both of those two also, like Douglas Luiz, have been way overperforming. So it implies that that's probably not as consistent. Interestingly, though, like you rank the top 5 by under 6 million by percentage ownership. For some reason Gordon comes out on top. I wonder if that's just because of his like recent haul, but
probably.
Yeah, his price has shot up, whereas He-Chan playing for unsexy Wolves is still such a huge differential, less than 6% ownership, and I'd say his stats are like as good as, if not better than, some of those competitors. So what I did, so I sort of narrowed that down to the top 3, which I think are probably consistent enough to be trusted with the expected data. So that's Palmer, He-Chan and Willian. So they look like the most consistent based on their numbers. I'd argue most of them are still differential. Palmer's the highest owned of those two, 12.2. He-Chan's 5.7 and Willian's even less than that. So mega differentials. And then I was looking at the fixtures. So I think there's a strong case. I mean, Chelsea have got good fixtures over the next 10 game weeks, but over the next 5 they're not so good. So Chelsea have got Brighton at home, Man United and Everton back-to-back away, Sheffield United at home, Wolves away. So, 1 to 2 good games in there. Wolves, on the other hand, after playing Arsenal away, they've got Burnley and Nottingham Forest back-to-back at home, West Ham, who obviously can't keep a clean sheet for Toffee, away, and then they've got Chelsea at home. So I'd say there's like 2 to 3 good games there. Fulham, again, tough one this weekend away against Liverpool, but then they've got Forest and West Ham back-to-back. Just mentioned West Ham's lack of clean sheet ability. Newcastle away, I agree, is tough. Then Burnley again at home, another poopy team. So 2 to 3 good games. So what I'm trying to get at here is the further breakdown. Are you still with me on this, by the way?
Yeah.
Good. So Palmer, Willian versus He-Chan. But picking between the player, there isn't too much between them. Shots in the box, 9 for Palmer, 9 for He-Chan, and 10 for Willian. Non-pen XG is where He-Chan comes into his own. So he's up on a massive 1.8. This is over the last 6 game weeks. The others are on 1.1, essentially. XA, Palmer trumps them both, 1.2 to 0.7, 0.8. Look at the team XG in the last 6. Chelsea come out on top, 12.5, boosted massively by the 4-4 game against City. Wolves in second, Fulham in third. So, long story short, they're all also on penalties. Willian took penalty for Fulham last night. He-Chan took penalty for night before last, Monday night.
I think he possibly won it, so I think that's why he took it.
Really?
I think Cunha's possibly. I think if Cunha had the ball, he would have taken it.
Oh, okay.
So there's something to be said of just like who's definitely on penalties at Wolves.
Oh, that's interesting.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
but if he took the last one, maybe he'll take the next one. So
we'll
see. Yeah.
And then just generally on the 3 of them, I just quite like that He-Chan plays up front. Anyway, so what I've basically found is looking at these numbers and doing a bit of a deeper dive. I really like He-Chan because of his ownership. Like, he's a mega differential. Everyone is just probably going to flock to Palmer because he's a name, and Gordon perhaps as well, which is why their ownership is so high. But he is perhaps like putting in better numbers, and in the short term after this Arsenal game, I'd say their fixtures are better. So yeah, I think there's.
So if someone was going to buy, you'd suggest?
I'm probably gonna get him because I need to get him Buemo. But if Bowen's out after this weekend, I could really see myself. Yeah.
What are you going to do with all that money? Because you will have Gordon and Hwang and
nothing. Probably don't need to do anything. Maybe get like maybe I could get Trippier, or Trent. But yeah, I just feel like at the moment, based on what we've seen in difficult games, he's performed well. He's got 7 returns out of, I think it's 13 games so far this season, and he's up there. He's got 2 fewer points than Diaby over the course of the season. I just quite like him, and
they're not a bad team anymore, Wolves. They're well organized. O'Neill's doing a good job, and they're creating chances. They're not a team that's not scoring like they used to be, that just couldn't score for anything really.
Yeah.
So the sort of rhetoric and sort of talk about them needs to change a little bit, especially for FPL.
Definitely.
We need to consider them. Even for possible, maybe not for clean sheets, but they've got nailed on players in Kilman, and he's cheap and stuff like that, and Dawson as well, who's been good in the past for goals and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely options in that Wolves team, and their fixtures are good, as you said.
Yeah, no, so sorry, I was wrong. It was actually 9 returns he's got in his 13 appearances this season, and he's scored goals against Liverpool, City, and Newcastle. So I don't think he's even like a worry about big. I almost want to forget everything I thought I knew about Wolves and think he seems like a
I always
good investment.
I always just have kind of like a block, like a mental block with picking players like this, cheap players, and I always trying to avoid it. I always try and go for the more expensive mids and the cheap players, because you always just think oh yeah, they've been doing all right recently, but as soon as you buy them, they'll stop, and then it's just then you're kind of in a position of where do you go from these cheap players?
Yeah.
So, but as you've said before, these 5 you can't really go wrong with this. They've just been outperforming all the others at the moment, and it's been consistent outperforming. So
6 game weeks is it's like half the season at this point, and they have been better. And I think I'm like you. I definitely wouldn't have. When I got Gordon 3 weeks ago, I was very much he's one to be my first transfers out, because I didn't think I could trust him. But in the 4 weeks I've had him now, he's got me 24 points. That's 6 points per game average, and that's probably better than what Saka's done. Might be better than what Bowen's done. So I think
probably
Watkins does.
The biggest reason that you've gone up in rank, probably.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would agree. So. Yeah, I almost think especially, Willian also Fulham have got good fixtures as well. So, I think either of them are fine. And, even Palmer as well, but perhaps their medium, short-term fixtures are not as good before their longer-term ones. But anyway, I just feel like maybe there isn't a space for two budget mids. Maybe there is, but anyway, they're all performing well at the moment. And I've definitely been guilty of overlooking them. I've listened to podcasts and people talk about Douglas Luiz. This is weeks ago, and say, nah, he's not an FPL option, and he's not worth it. But he's been getting consistent returns, and I kind of think that because we're trying to squeeze in Salah, and Haaland at the start of this season, these players have appeared, but they are representing good value. Douglas Luiz has got more points than Diaby now.
Yeah.
This season, he's on penalties and he plays pretty much 90 minutes. So.
Yeah, he's one that will continue ticking over, probably.
Absolutely.
Obviously, he's hard to suggest buying because of their fixes now, but he probably will continue to, because he's got penalties and he's on some set pieces as well. He's it's tough. Just annoying that I've gone for the more attacking person on paper.
Exactly.
That's just how it works in FPL, isn't it?
Yeah. So
anyway. Yeah, anything else to mention?
No, probably just that pretty much covers the budget mids, and just I'm pretty sure I'm going to get Hee-Chan for next week and take a punt and just try and gain a bit more rank with him.
Well, I think I'm for sure getting Mbremo. He's obviously 7 million now. He's obviously a bit above the budget mids, but if I'm not feeling him, someone down from that, I've still got Bowen, I've still got Nakamba, who I could possibly move up. I don't know which one I'd pick. I like Hee-Chan. I like Hwang. And then I also like Palmer, just because he seems to be a cocky little shit. And he just seems to be getting goals and returns, doesn't he? So, although without the pens, he's not really done too much. So I guess we'll see.
That's why he's yeah. I think I didn't know, to be honest, about Wang being not first choice.
I don't know if he's not first choice. That's what I'm
Alright.
saying. He's like possibly Cunha is, possibly he is. Like it's up in the air still.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that's just my piece on that, and perhaps we'll talk about it more when we look at our teams at the end.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit about Spurs now,
Oh, yeah.
and obviously Son, who many of us have. He's 39.8% owned. I have him in my team. I've talked about them a little bit before, but yeah, so I'm just going to go into a little bit more about his sort of forms since Maddison's gone. So yeah, his Spurs in general since Maddison game week 11 to 13, their XG has been 4.07, which is 13th of all teams. And then the XGC is 8.0, which is 20th, even worse than Luton over this three match fixtures. So yes, since Maddison's been injured, obviously 3 losses in a row, 3 blanks in a row for Son, no clean sheets obviously in there as well, no yellow cards. So he's had 2-2-2. Obviously got City next, usually a good fixture for him. Then Newcastle, and they got a decent side in West Ham as well in the next 3. So not great in terms of fixtures, but obviously he usually does kind of well in those sort of games that he can get in behind the lines. But yeah, Spurs have scored in all of their losses, these last 3 losses, and versus Villa they had obviously, I think it was 4, maybe 3 disallowed goals. So that can be construed in probably either way of good to create the chances for him.
Yeah.
But then a good high line defensive trap stopped from Villa, stopped him, and then it was kind of poor from Spurs to be caught by it constantly, and especially Son, who probably should have been doing better because he's usually on that last line, should be getting that right. Yeah, he's had an average of 0.14 XG since the Maddison injury, which is obviously not great. And then an average of 0.2 expected assists as well. So not great. Shots he's had 5 in 3 weeks. Not great either, which is joint 5th, but it's with 19 other midfielders.
Blimey, right.
Which is, yeah, not ideal. 0 big chances as well in this time. 2 big chances created, which is obviously okay. And then 4 key passes. I think in my team, probably the same as many others. They probably have other priorities to be selling. So I think he's could be a save for the City game. Like they haven't looked awful attacking wise, like because they have been scoring and before, like when they scored first in that Villa game, Kulusevski had a huge chance to make it 2-0. I think Son, could have made it 2-0 as well. So yeah, if those goals go in, not offsides and things like that, then these matches could have turned out differently. And I think Son could get a few returns. So obviously he's 9.7 million. He's probably going to keep dropping. People are going to keep selling, but for me, I think he's just going to stay in there for the time being. But he is a cash cow as someone I could sell and get to other people. But I've already got Salah, I've already got Haaland. He's kind of I don't really need the like Bowen could go to somewhere to get even Watkins could go somewhere maybe. Like the only other person in the game I really desperately want at the moment is possibly Darwin. So
what about Saka at the minute?
Well, yeah, he's not been performing greatly, has he? So yeah, I mean, I'll see what he's doing in the Champions League tonight if he does anything. But yeah, Saka's stats have been really not good at all.
Not been
good. But they're probably pretty comparable to Son's right now. So yeah, so at the moment I feel like I've got other things to do than selling Son. So I think I'll just keep him this week and see what happens. But yeah, just wanted to mention Porro. Yeah, just over this time, he's probably the only Spurs player really that has really returned many points. That is obviously seems to be an FPL option anyway. So he's come out with obviously the 0 versus Chelsea, but then 5 and a 5 in the last 2 games in 2 defeats with 2 assists, which is pretty good considering. His XA numbers have been consistently high over these 3 weeks since Maddison's gone. 0.44 versus Villa, 0.62 versus Wolves, and a 0.37 versus Chelsea. So those are pretty good. If anything, this injury sort of crisis has actually helped in his XA numbers before Maddison went out was 0.03 versus Crystal Palace, 0.02 versus Fulham, and 0.03 versus Luton. So yeah, his numbers obviously gone up, and he seems to be doing well. 8th highest scoring defender in the game. Romero and Basuma are obviously back a little bit soon. but Udogie looked back and looked quite good too. Sorry. The defense, in my opinion, won't be as fragile if Romero's back. He could be considered possibly a buy from like West Ham forwards, like possibly after that. So the fixtures obviously are Man City, West Ham, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Brighton, and Bournemouth. So probably from West Ham forwards, he could be someone you could bring in, possibly as a replacement for the cash. He's obviously 5.3 million. So yeah, I don't mind him as an option. He's looked good. He's passing the eye test, getting quite a few shots off as well. So yeah, what do you think about it?
He's on set pieces as well. Like I think that's how he got his assist at the weekend. And you're right, he's definitely he's probably the second or third pick when it comes to attacking potential, when it comes to like defenders in the game at the moment, after maybe Trent and Trippier. Like in terms of potential and actually like delivering on some of the numbers. Like his expected assist numbers are high. He always seems to be getting forward. So I think Porro could be a good pick. And we've seen so far this season that maybe the defensive returns can't be relied on for pretty much most teams, like we've said tonight. But he is providing good attacking numbers and better than that of cash, and maybe that's worth investing in. Yeah, he's definitely someone I looked at earlier this week, and could maybe not see many clean sheets in the next like 4 or 5 games. Only one at Bournemouth, which is like 6 game weeks away maybe. But yeah, he got a return at the weekend, and perhaps he can continue. And for 5.3, it's not that much of an investment in the defence. So,
yeah, I just think if Romero comes back, then after City, I think it is, then they could be okay defensively again. I think their defense has not looked that bad. Obviously, they are conceding a good few, but like I have talked about him before. I've mentioned I really wanted him instead of Udogie, and yeah, at 13.4%, and the only player who's really doing anything, and they're looking to him creatively at the moment. I think he's a decent shout.
Yeah, no, I think he is too. I feel like I've got a lot. Because I got 2 free transfers, it almost feels like I'm spoilt for choice. I think every week when you have 1, it's almost like you want to try to put out a fire. But when you've got 2, you're like, right, I can really like attack and do something. And yeah, him maybe
could do 3 minus 4, So
no, I've done that twice so far this season, and I usually don't.
I haven't done a single hit.
Have you
so
not?
Far. No,
it's rare, isn't it?
It is rare. Yeah. I've been patient this season, which has hurt me on a few occasions, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't noticed that. Oh, yeah, maybe a -4 this week, but I doubt it. Just because the third player has got or usually got a difficult fixture. Oh, talking about fixtures though, and I know you probably want to talk about it next. And we've had a few messages in the chat about it. Is Alisson? So he's someone you and I could both feasibly get. Well, like everyone, because it seemed to have got Turner. Yeah, but you've got Tsimikas, so it's perhaps a bit different. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. I'm kind of on the fence about bringing him in. I feel like he's good, like for the next 2 or 3 games in terms of he'll play, but does like that warrant a transfer over someone like Areola? I just feel like the fixtures at the minute they're good, but no one really seems to be performing defensively. I don't know. Do you think Keller's worth investing in? He's going to get Fulham, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Fulham games at home, the other 2 away.
Yeah, hard to call, isn't it? I don't know if it's worth a transfer, but if you're on wildcard, for sure, get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, really.
No, I'm really undecided about it. I feel like it seems like a good opportunity, but maybe not as good as Tsimikas. If Alisson was like confirmed out for 2 months or a month, I think it would make it a lot easier. But the fact that Klopp said he's basically going to miss like 2 weeks maximum, meaning that Keller's going to get 3 games, is like a 3-game transfer. Is that basically like a 3-game upside worth it when, let's say most people have got Areola, he's 37% owned, when he's got Palace, Tottenham and Fulham in his next 3. I mean, they're not keeping clean sheets, but how much point difference is it going to be? I don't know.
I mean, Liverpool defence is partly good on when they are good due to Alisson as well. He's an insanely good keeper, and he prevents a lot of XGC himself. So yeah, is Kelleher going to be able to match that? I don't think so. I think he played in one Europa game this week or a few weeks ago, and they conceded like 2 or 3 to some
was that Toulouse
bad
or
team.
something?
Toulouse, yeah. He looked really, really bad in that actually. So sort of shots he should have been saving. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm a bit unsure about it as well. But maybe I'll see how he plays in the. I'm sure he's going to start obviously tomorrow just to see if he can get some more minutes under his belt. Any other things you want to chit chat about?
Not really, to be honest. Gibbs White is obviously another 5.7 million cheap mid who's obviously looked pretty good. Got a 13-point haul in the last game. He had an assist in the game before that. Looking pretty consistent. Obviously, the next two fixtures are Everton, Fulham, Wolves, Tottenham, and Bournemouth. So the next five altogether, really good. Hard to sort of trust a Forest attacker, but they seem to be coming into their own. They're obviously another one of those teams that, like Wolves, are scoring a few goals, and like Wolves again, like they're not one of the worst teams in the league anymore. That like the three promoted teams are, then they're okay. So yeah, if you want to go for another punt, he's only 1.4% owned. I think I said, mega differential.
Juicy.
Everton at home seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like it. And to be honest, I don't know how he didn't come up, and he obviously wasn't that high numbers wise the last 6 for me to not mention.
No,
but
it's only really the last 2 he's done anything.
Right,
he's just picking up a bit of form.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I just all right. I quite like that. All these maybe value picks in midfield. So
yeah.
All right, let's lead into just chit chat about our teams. Davro in the legend in the chat has just said can't do worse than Areola, which is a good point on Keller.
Yeah, it's true.
Can't do because I mean, you think with all those good fixtures West Ham had, like there'd be like one clean sheet in there. And I think the annoying thing is because he's so highly owned, you're not even feel like you're making any ground either. You're just going with the tide, and the tide at the moment has been full of detritus and shit. Anyway. All right, let's bring up my team first. Why not? So at the moment I've got Areola in goal, Taylor, Saliba, and Cash playing, benching Anderson away at Crystal Palace. Away at West Ham. In the midfield I've got Bowen, obviously still orange flagged, Salah, Saka, Gordon, Maddison red flag who's going to come out, Watkins and Haaland captain. So we haven't really talked about captaincy, but I think it's going to be Haaland again this weekend. I think it's big games. Spurs will still got defensive frailties. Any case for Salah over Haaland this week?
Yeah, there obviously is a case. I don't think he's blanked at home all season, has he? So, yeah, I think that's a tough one, honestly. I think Watkins is even worth a shout. So, yeah.
Just think the volume
I think
of
it's probably
Haaland
on Haaland. Yeah, it's probably still on Haaland, even though this should be on paper somewhere we should look to not captain him. But I think just after Haaland's recent form, getting a goal against Leipzig last night as well, Haaland, the tougher games he's been hauling, so can't really look anywhere else.
Yeah, I agree. He's more. I think he's almost more reliable in the tougher games. Like, the volume of chances they create for him is good. I mean, he scored against Liverpool and he scored against multiple against City. So yeah, I think it's sadly just going to be on him this week. So like I say, I've got 2 free transfers. My main thinking is Maddison out, Mbeumo. Yeah, Mbeumo. Mbeumo in. And I think the rest of it is probably okay. I'm quite happy to have Gordon because he plays at home, obviously, and he does better there. Saka's got a good fixture at home against Wolves. Bowen's the only question mark. So if Bowen's out, I don't really like playing Anderson, and the fixtures are quite close. So I'll have to think about that. I don't know. Maybe I'd play Archer. Maybe I should reorder the bench. But Sheffield United have been so crud. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Archer had 1 shot in the last game against. Who did they even play? It was someone.
They played another shit team. They played Bournemouth.
Yeah,
they played Bournemouth.
1 shot.
Better.
Yeah, and he had like a 0.1 xg or something. So yeah, not great.
So yeah, I might take a chance on one of the budget-friendly differentials I mentioned, but they've all got really bad fixtures to start this week. Like Hwang would be my pick, but they're playing away against Arsenal. Kind of don't want to bring in someone who's playing Saliba because it just seems like such a counter move, really.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see on that front. I might just use my bench, maybe play Anderson, maybe Archer. Have to see. All right, let's have a look at your team up next.
So yeah, I've got 2 free transfers as well. I might start Taylor instead of Cash. Lascelles, I don't know. Like probably bench makes sense, to be honest. But he could end up playing. I don't know. Bowen is obviously still in there with the red flag. So it or the orange flag. Sorry. DRB and Bowen are looking like the ones I need to be moving on. So I've got the 2 free transfers could be someone like Mbeumo, and then I'm possibly looking at it like Bowen. Well, I don't really know what to do with Bowen yet, but I'm also looking at Alvarez to possibly Darwin, because I think the next 3 look really good for Liverpool, Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And Joss has been confirmed out for about 4 weeks. So Darwin, at the moment, it seems like a really good time to buy him. And obviously those fixtures are great, and he should be nailed on for minutes. So anytime Darwin's good for minutes, should be somewhere you should probably go. But yeah, it's always risky because I like Alvarez. He obviously came on and scored yesterday. Hasn't been doing much in the Premier League, but there's always I always say with him, there's always the chance. I feel like if he's playing, he could do something.
Yeah.
And after Spurs, obviously, which isn't really a bad fixture, they got Villa. But then after that, they got Luton and Crystal Palace. So, yeah, I kind of don't really want to get rid of. Maybe I could bring him back, but then in game week 18, they've also got a blank. So maybe it is the time to just get Darwin in and see. But yeah, a lot relies on Bowen. See if he's flagged or whatever, or not playing in Europa this week, or if he's on the bench or something like that. Just some kind of update would be nice.
Yeah.
Last we knew was some kind of like fluid on his knee, and he supposedly had a late fitness test for the last game. So you'd think he should be at least be on the bench in the Europa League. So
I think it makes it tricky as well, because they've got because it's the short week. I kind of feel like if he misses Saturday, it's quite likely he misses maybe Wednesday and the following Sunday, or not maybe the following Sunday, but there's a chance he misses more than one game, which is when it gets like a bit irritating. So
yeah, I had exact money to get Bowen to Saka the other day, and I think I've already missed that. So yeah, not so.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. You're right, because it's I've not gone early. Like, even though I had the 2 frees, I made that mistake earlier in the season, and Botman was out, and even though players are rising and falling like anything, I may as well just wait until the end of the week, because I want to know who's actually available to play this week.
And Moyes will probably say nothing useful anyway.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It'll be sort of vague. I think your team looks quite good this weekend, though. Like, I kind of forgot you had Simicast, because he's been on your bench for 2 weeks, so I think it's a good fixture to bring him in for.
I'm sure he's probably going to concede. Willian penalty, I'm sure.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Cool.
Do you think I should play Taylor over anyone?
Well, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I mean, they've been so bad. They've broken the record for most losses at home, and I'm playing him, but only because Sheffield United are even worse.
Yes.
And they were like 10 minutes away from a clean sheet against West Ham, and they came back late. So yeah, I think that I think I'm going to play Taylor, but I don't really have another option.
I may play Taylor over Cash. I may do that.
I may play Taylor over Cash.
Even though, like, why am I keeping Cash then? Because this is his good fixture.
Yeah. No, I'm going to play Cash for sure.
Who
else am I playing? Who did I say I'm playing in defence? Oh yeah, I'm not playing Anderson away at West Ham. To be honest, maybe I should change my mind on that and play Anderson over Taylor. I don't know. Just think on paper that fixture looks good, but anyway.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Any more you want to add?
No, all good.
Cool. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us and all the comments in the chat. And good luck this game week. We'll be back previewing game week 15. Maybe Monday evening. We'll update on YouTube before that. So yeah, have a good game week. Take care until then.